Chapter 6. After the Turning Point. How could I be so stupid? Because of all the worries, I could never think straight. I still stared at the spot where the dark spirit hovered before he disappeared, until I turned my head to Julia. She suddenly opened her eyes, to my rejoice. I thought she was dead. Drake? Julia, hang in there. I can't. I wasn't sure what to believe anymore. Dragonia was torn apart and slowly sinking to its grave. Dwarves and elves from Persil's gathered as they made it out of the forest. Centaurs exited the palace and gathered as well. Dora ran out the palace and ran towards me, yelling my name. Drake! She managed to get to us in time. We all watched and waited as our world was falling apart. The earth was shifting and the land broke apart into pieces. Parts of land rose higher and some sank. It was all about to end up on the water. It was the end of Dragonia. Haru, Julia, Maya, Dora, and I were separated from everyone else when a part of the land broke off and started shifting. Right after, Haru, Maya, and Dora were separated from us too. I was still holding Julia as behind her, cracks started appearing in the grass. Drake, I can't stop him, she said. You have to fight it, please. I don't know how. Julia's pupils were changing again. She tried to fight it but couldn't fight it forever. When her pupils stopped changing back and they remained red, she was lost again. She looked at me for a few seconds until she pushed herself away from me and took one step towards the edge and fell. No! I grabbed a hold of her hand just in time. I looked down and could see the magma from the center of the earth. It was a terrifying yet somehow beautiful sight, but I feared for our lives. Julia, hold on! She tried to resist, but she wasn't strong enough to fight it. I wanted to get her back up, but she wouldn't stop struggling. Help! Her personality kept changing. Eventually, she placed her nails into my skin to make me let go, but I never let go. It hurt, but I couldn't bring myself to lose her. What I couldn't prevent was that she was slowly slipping away. The rain kicked in, making my hands slippery. It was like everything was against me. The world wanted me to let go. I knew what was awaiting me. I knew there was a chance none of this was real. But it felt so real. Despite my doubts, I kept holding on. I couldn't risk it. I'm sorry, Drake. Julia lost the strength to keep resisting. I wanted to save her, but I just couldn't. And before I realized it, her hand slipped. As I saw her falling into the abyss, I hadn't ever felt as dispirited as then. I lost her. Julia died that day. I could only pray it wasn't true. Haru, Maya, and Dora managed to jump onto the piece of land I remained on as the two parts shifted by. Drake, we have to go, Haru could barely bear to say. Julia, Maya said saddened. Haru wanted to get me up, but I wasn't cooperating. I couldn't. All felt like it was lost. The occurrences, the sounds, the horror around me all became insignificant. The rain came down even harder and lightning burst through, hitting the highest points. The water was still closing in and everyone tried to get to the middle in order to avoid it as long as possible. I was still unable to make a decision. I couldn't think properly. The trees of the forest were swallowed by the earth and the palace started to crumble. The towers broke, windows shattered, the doors were trampled and the hill underneath the palace dented until the entire hill was torn into two. I heard the people crying when some were swallowed by the earth scream. Haru kept telling me we had to do something, but I just didn't know what it was we could do. I saw that my friends and my sister were frightened. It hurt to see them that way. My anger got me back up, but only to scream for the spirit to show itself. Where are you? Show yourself! The coward was nowhere to be found. Haven't you done enough? I could not control a single emotion. I repeated expelling heat waves, hoping to hit the spirit. I was so furious that I was helping to destroy everything around me, but I didn't realize the destruction I was causing. While Haru was protecting Maya, Dora, and himself from the heat waves, everyone else ran away, even though they had nowhere to go. I didn't realize at first that I was scaring everyone, and everyone thought it was me who was causing Dragonia to sink. I even wondered myself if that were true afterwards. But at the time, I could still not control my emotions. Someone had to stop me. Drake, stop! Haru shouted. This is not an illusion, believe me. You are destroying the land. I looked at Haru, shocked by hearing him say that. It was then that I started realizing it might have been true. No, it's the spirit. Have you ever thought that maybe your powers aren't as innocent as you think? With great power comes great responsibility, someone once said, remember? Your powers might carry the name of creation, but they aren't as different from destruction. You need to control yourself or we'll all die. I couldn't take in that all this could be my fault, but he wasn't wrong. I could do so much, but with my power came great responsibility, and I had to remain upright. Like the book said, if I lost myself, my journey would end. But frankly, with Julia gone, I already wanted to give up. The turning point had already occurred. Harold looked me straight into my eyes with a desperate look. Get it together, man. All sound faded. The water closing in, the trees getting swallowed, the earth's surface cracking, the rain, the thunder, the lightning. I noticed our part of the land had shifted upwards for the most part, and we could see over the entire forest. Everyone else was below us. Harold rose up and gave me his hand. Come on. But while all sound had faded, something did manage to break through. A flash of lightning and a loud bang. It sounded so close. The flash made me close my eyes, and the bang caused a loud beep. It slowly went away, and I could open my eyes again. I wish I hadn't. Lightning struck the highest spot, and we weren't the highest ones, but only one of us was standing. Haru didn't move until he fell over. Haru! The 50,000-degree lightning strike set his clothes ablaze, shredded them apart, and burned his skin. I vanquished the flames but couldn't do anything about the horrible third-degree burns. Haru seemed in shock. His heart was about to give up. Haru, please, don't die. But I couldn't do a thing. His heart gave up. Haru died that day. For once, it felt like it was true. No, Haru, no, Maya said. Maya's reactions on the torment brought upon us seemed so real. I couldn't bring myself to think that it was all still an illusion. The dwarves and elves below us couldn't go anywhere. The water came and they were taken by the sea. Some tried to fight for their lives and swim back up, but the stream prevented them from moving. And even if they were to get back up, they soon had nowhere to go. Dragonia wasn't just falling, it was the end of Rosium. The water pushed the final bit of earth upwards. We were so high up and could see the ocean had already swallowed the entirety of Uranian, and possibly Venus as well. It really was the end, I thought. Everyone was gone, swallowed by the ocean. Only Maya, Dora, and I remained. I wanted to say sorry to my sister. I couldn't protect her after all. Perhaps it was better this way. At least my suffering would be over. I didn't see what was left for us to do. I didn't see a way out. I lost every bit of hope I had ever managed to gather. Each adventure seemed in vain now. Memories flashed before my eyes. I remember the most wonderful things, and sometimes the smallest things, but it all involved around my friends. Each conversation I had with them, each time we laughed, each time we had each other's backs. We always did have each other's backs. I had made such wonderful friends, met the most intriguing people, and I was granted everything I wanted, but with the cost of this day. I still couldn't believe it really was the end. We waited until the water would swallow us as well. The final bit of earth started sinking when everything around us was dragged away. Never did something seem to take that long. An inevitable death. The inevitable end. Of course it took so long. I looked at Maya and Dora. They were so scared. I wish I could have rid them of the pain. I wish I could have saved them. But then the water came. Terrified, sorrowfully, in tears, I said, I'm sorry. The minutes on the water took even longer. All sound became inaudible. Everything was dark and so cold. While we were holding our breath, we looked at each other and waited until our time would run out. I knew what it felt like to drown, but never knew what it felt like to know you'd die drowning. I swam towards Dora and started holding her in my arms. I was so scared to lose her. I saw Maya had nearly lost all air. She was about to leave us. And she did. Maya died that day. My friends were all gone, but I knew I could find solace in knowing I wouldn't be around much longer to experience the pain of everything I lost. I still embraced my sister, but she couldn't hold her breath much longer. And when she closed her eyes, I knew she was no longer in the land of the living. My sister died that day. As I watched her eyes close, I felt the pain like never before. I started screaming, but I couldn't hear my own scream. Dora drifted away from me as I couldn't hold on to her anymore. It was over. Everything turned even darker, and I was about to lose my own life. I wanted to be with the people I loved. I wanted to go home. Home. I was reminded of my last option. I summoned a portal and the flow of water pulled me through, and in just a few seconds, I ended up on the carpet in my house. As the portal closed and gallons of water flooded the floor, I was saved. But why the hell did I do that? I hated myself for saving myself. I wanted to die with my friends, but something made me summon that portal, even though I didn't want to. Perhaps it wasn't me. Did the spirit want to keep me alive? But why? I was alive, but for what cost? Next to all this, the biggest question remained. How was I ever going to go on?